morning, y'all. It's Brooke with Mrs. Cog Hill, and my crew's coming up behind me. And my crew consists of, well, Rocky and Bandit and Foxy, and then, well, Dee Dee's coming too. Got another nest that I was definitely not expecting. Right, buddy? I never, y'all, I can't tell just by looking in their eyes who they are. This is Rocky. Rocky's come to join us. I told y'all the whole crew was coming, and that's the whole dog crew. Had some questions here lately before I get into this egg situation about Sunshine. And some of y'all may not even know who Sunshine is, but Sunshine was a rescue dog that came with us from our old farm. She kind of looks like a lab. She's a mutt, but Sunshine kind of went to live with my mama once we moved here. And that was just because she was living in the tiny house and Sunny was, well, there wasn't enough space in the camper, and Mama had taken a liking to both Sunny and Jewel. So Sunshine is still with us. She lives with my mama, and that's the reason that y'all do not see her very often, but she is doing well. Now I must say that we did lose Jewel, the blue heeler, over the summer. She was around 13 years old, and sadly she just didn't make it through the summer. So wanted to update y'all on that while I was talking dog. They're not gonna do it when I squat down here, but these two, I mean, they absolutely love each other. They were kissing. He's trying to get my microphone. That's what he's trying to do. Rocky and Bandit absolutely love each other, as you guys can see, and we're giving kisses at the time. Of course, I missed it on camera. Back to eggs. My last video was about a silkie that was sitting on eggs that I did not know about in the barn, and I kind of felt guilty about that because we weren't planning on letting any eggs hatch, but it was a nest that I didn't know about. We candled the eggs, and we did see that they were very early in development. Now, this is not about the silkies. This is not about the emus, even though I'm going into the emu pasture right now with Mr. Nugget greeting me at the fence, as he always does. Now, I think Goldie has finished laying. I say I think. Her droppings, and y'all know what I'm talking about, is no longer green. And I have found that when she is actively laying, it is green, but it's turned brown. So there's no eggs in the nest. And I think she's completely done for the season. Now, something that is not done and probably should be done. As a matter of fact, let me tell y'all this. So I saw on one of these groups that I follow that somebody was recently looking for goslings. And that's the term for a baby goose. So they were looking for goslings, and the comments were, "You'll have to wait till spring. Geese are done." That is factual evidence, except for here at Cog Hill Farm. And I say that loosely because I saw a goose sitting right, you see this tree right behind me? Sitting at the base of this tree yesterday. And Nugget's probably gonna get my earrings. I'm not doing a very good job, but he's pecking my shoes, and I want y'all to be able to see him. So I didn't come in here and try to get her up, because we all know what can happen when you try to move a goose, especially off a potential nest that they have. Look at this sweet boy, y'all. He's laid down beside me. He wants me to love on him, and got Miss Goldie in the backdrop. She's got to make sure everything is good. So I'm going to set my camera up here and see if we can't talk while sitting down and loving on Mr. Nugget. Oh, I wasn't going to mess with her while she was sitting on that nest, because we all know what can happen when you mess with a mama goose, or a daddy goose for that matter. But daddy geese don't sit on nests, they just kind of stand guard. But this was definitely a female, and she was definitely sitting. So I haven't come behind her yet to see what's there. But I have a good indication of what I'm gonna find. Nugget, there's nothing on my shoes because of the position that I saw her sitting in. And then when I came over here, I took a peek at the base of that tree and there's a pile of leaves. So that tells me that she has covered up whatever she's left there. Now y'all, it is November. It is November and geese are not supposed to be laying eggs. There are rare occasions. I've had some occasions where things have laid eggs out of season. Hence, emus laying twice this year, but that's not unusual. But I've had some odd times of the year for peacocks to lay eggs. Peahens have laid here in February, which is a bit early. But for a goose to be laying in November is Fifi's in heat. Fifi's at the fence hollering for Mo and Joe. And I apologize. For a goose to be laying this time of the season is absolutely crazy. But our temperatures are very warm. I mean, you can see I've got short sleeves on. It's predicted to be like in the upper 80s today. So, you know, it may just be that their internal system is telling them conditions are right to lay eggs, even though the temperatures are going to drop. Nugget, have you uncovered that nest to see what's there? Or are you leaving that for me? Looks like you can definitely pick up a leaf because you just did that. All right. When you finish getting your loving, we're going to go over and we're going to check in that nest and see what she's got in there. So here's where I'm talking about. If I had not seen her sitting right here, I would have never, ever known that she could have been laying an egg, because that pile of leaves doesn't really look any different than the rest of the leaves, except for it's kind of circular. While Nugget pecks on my shoes, we're going to do some uncovering here, and we're going to see if there's Nugget. Oh yeah, look at there. Look at, if y'all could see Nugget's face. Oh my gracious. He is like, wait a minute. Those are not green. You can have them. They're not mine. Look at here, y'all. 2 eggs. 2 eggs in November. I see one of your feathers in there. But you took it from me. But those are definitely not Goldie's eggs. Those are definitely goose eggs. So Jason and I have, whoa! That was almost bad. Did y'all see him? I'm taking my earrings out right now because he was just about to get them. Nugget, you scared me, buddy. Okay. So we have made the decision as Goldie comes around the tree to not let any more geese hatch here. And I'm going to do my best to keep a close eye on the pastures. Before anything starts sitting, I'm going to collect the eggs because y'all, we have, I think at last count, it was 26 geese. And as they reproduce, as they sit every year, they just add more and more to the population. Now, I did rehome 2 geese to Catherine over at G&G. I forgot about that, so maybe it's 24. Maybe I have 24 now. I'm going to have to do a count because I can't remember. But we're not letting any more geese hatch. We can control that. They lay their eggs in a spot such as this. I'm just going to have to keep a close eye on it and make sure none start to sit. Right now, I'm gathering these eggs and I'm going to continue to keep watch. I am gathering these 2 eggs, covering that nest back up, and these are going to go to Catherine at G&G Farm. She has 2 geese. She has a male and a female. They're going to lay this year, but she wants more geese. And I have told her that I will do my best to catch a couple of more of these and relocate them to her. That's easier said than done sometimes. So she can add these to the incubator, and I guarantee you they're fertile. Now whether they'll hatch or not, that's up to her. But these will turn into baby goslings that she can add to her collection. She has a pond. She can certainly decide when enough is enough, as we did goose eggs in November. All right, y'all. I'm gonna take these to the house and grab a bag and take y'all out back where the potager garden is gonna be. And we're gonna do something that I think is gonna be fun today with the freeze dryer. All right, y'all, we got something fun we're gonna try with our freeze dryer today. And that is making ingredients that we can use to make our house smell good. You can use this by putting it on your stove and letting it simmer. Some people use a crock pot method. That way they don't have to worry about a burner being on the eye of the stove. Any way you choose to do it. Some people even use the little warming things that you can plug in. So the choice is yours as to how you choose to heat this and make your house smell good. But today we're working on ingredients. And I think that we should use things that pertain to fall, since we're right here in the heart of fall. Thanksgiving's coming up. Some of you guys will be having company come over for Thanksgiving, and everybody wants their house to smell good. So I'm thinking that some of Jason's rosemary that he has back here that he's been babying until we figure out exactly where we're going to plant it will be a good addition for this jar that I'm going to make to have on hand for those situations when you need your house to smell good. I'm also thinking of using, well, I'll just show you when we get inside, but for now, we're going to take some clippings off our rosemary, and I've brought a little bag here that we can take inside and show y'all exactly what I've got in mind. Now, I'm not stopping with rosemary outside. The second ingredient that I'm going to add is a little bit different. First things first. So rosemary is one of those things when added to heat, such as your stovetop, it can really add a lot of fragrance to your house. And I know that because I've done this before with lemons and rosemary, just using it fresh. And of course you can do it fresh, but I'm thinking that this might be a good idea for people to give as gifts for Christmas and use in their own house. So we're going to focus on trying to get this put into a jar and making it look pretty for gift giving purposes and for storing in your own house to make it look pretty, so it's not just tucked away in your pantry where nobody can see it. Now, it's not going to take a lot of rosemary. I may be cutting more than I can use, but that's okay. We've got an abundance of it. So just got a few stems here, and now we're going to go down to the woods where we'll find our second ingredient. It looks like when we get down here we might have a special guest. I think she heard me talking and she came out of her old barn area, which is just right behind our house. I mean, she comes up to visit. She mostly does that in the evening, but she stays down here at the barn, and that is Miss Pink. Most of you know who Pink is. Pink's a rescue cat that we have had for many years, and she's probably one of the sweetest cats that we have, but she's just a little bit odd. She chooses to come out when she wants to. She chooses to have attention when she wants it, and we're gonna visit with Miss Pink real quick before we go on to our next item. Now, Pink does have a chip in her ear, and that's one way you guys can tell the difference in Tucker and Pink. They did this at the animal shelter where we adopted Pink from, and that was to indicate that she has been spayed. So if she were to get back out on the street, she would they would know that she doesn't need to be spayed again. Sometimes the only way you can tell if an animal is spayed by looking at a scar, and they don't always show up real good. So that chip in her ear, while I don't know how I feel about that, because it is beneficial. So we'll leave it at that. We did not do that. They did that at the animal shelter. And her name was Pink when we rescued her. So she had a little pink ribbon tied around her neck when they first got her, so they could tell her and her brother Blue apart. Now Blue, we never got to meet. He was rescued before Pink for whatever reason, and hopefully he's still alive and doing well, but have no way of knowing where Blue is. But Pink was bottle fed by a foster, not us, before we adopted her, and I think that's probably one of the reasons she is just as, I mean, she's as sweet as they come. So I bet she's going to help me when we go over here to the woods and gather our second ingredient. Everybody loves seeing you, Miss Pink. All right, let's go over here and get our clippings. So by the looks of things, what I'm after is going to be easier to get to than what I thought. And here it is, right here. This is the pine tree, known to be everywhere in Alabama, probably all over the United States, but I'm thinking that pine needles, in addition to my other ingredients, are going to make for a wonderful fall, winter mix that we can make our house smell good with. So Pink, if you'll hold the camera. So I don't want huge bundles of pine needles. I want, well, this time of the year, they're just spread out and not tucked in tight. But the reason I'm going to freeze dry these is because if I don't, this is what they're going to end up like in just a matter of no time. And that's not very pretty. Plus, when they're green, they have all the oils in them, which is the aromatic part of it. So just going to start clipping. And I'm only going to do, oh my goodness. Smell that, buddy. Smell that, Pink. Doesn't that smell wonderful? See, I'm already getting a whiff of what the final outcome is going to be like. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to make up about, I don't know, 3 or 4 jars maybe. And I can always separate these after I freeze dry them. So I got 4 good sized clumps of pine needles here. And of course, I mentioned this in a previous video. November for Harvest Right, the entire month, they offer a Black Friday sale. Lowest prices of the season on a freeze dryer. So, if you were to be in the market for one, the month of November is the time to do it. Well, I came in to show you guys what else I have to add to it, and I must say, my hands are so full of aromatics of pine. That pine sap just leaves the, I love the smell of it. Now, some of you may not. Some of you may feel differently about it. But to me, the smell of pine is just wonderful. So like I said, just use your imagination. Do what you like and make this just something fun. So my thoughts are oranges, lemons, and apples. And when done, I plan to put it in one of those jars. I bought these jars to store my milk in down at the barn when Capri was being milked, and I've got quite a few of them. So I'm thinking it's going to be really pretty in the jar, and just, you know, it'd be a perfect gift idea, or it'll be pretty just sitting on my counter. So let's get started, because I've got the mandolin ready to go, and we're just gonna, I'm gonna kind of experiment and see what size I think is gonna work best. Now my jars are wide mouth, hence the size of the apple. I'm going to slice it so it's pretty, and hopefully it won't have a problem fitting in my jar. If it does, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but that's the plan. I did line my trays with parchment paper just to keep it from sticking. I don't know if it would stick or not, but I don't want to take any chances, so just gonna kind of line my apples up here. I plan on doing 1 tray of apples, 1 tray of oranges, 1 tray of lemons, and then fill the rest up with my pine and my rosemary. Oh, it smells good already. And of course, you don't have to have a freeze dryer, but I think that having a way to preserve it and to not have to make this over and over again will be beneficial. And here's something else that I want to share with y'all. This is a silicone mat that Harvest Right makes, and this is so that you can line your trays with it. I don't own any of these. I'm gonna get some. Catherine over at G&G Farm let me borrow this one because she thought I may need it with the rosemary. She thinks that it may stick a little bit and maybe the oils get released. So I'm gonna use one of her mats for the tray that I'm gonna freeze dry the rosemary and the pine needles on. I'm gonna be interested to see how the pine needles are gonna turn out. And then I'm gonna do my sprigs of rosemary. And of course, the rosemary I can pull off the stem or leave it on the stem, however I choose to do it. I think it'll be fine. So I decided to make a change. I'm gonna do an entire tray of rosemary on Catherine's mat and an entire tray of pine needles on the parchment paper. I wanted to make sure that I got enough rosemary in it, so that's why I'm gonna do it like that. But look at the trays. I mean, without it being freeze dried, it's already beautiful. I know my house is gonna smell good when I get all of these things combined together. Okay, y'all, we're gonna shut it up and let it run for tonight. And then tomorrow, hopefully it'll be ready. Well, I'm here at the barn to check on my freeze-dried goodies. And I wanted to show y'all Mama Silky, who is, Jason moved her. He moved her in here because, well, the eggs were getting kicked all over the place. And he talked about it on his video. So she's in a different stall to where, well, so far everything's gone well. But it's not time to candle them again, so I'm just gonna let her do her thing, sit on them until at least another week has passed and we can see some more development before I look at the eggs again. But for now, we're headed into the milk room and hopefully our goodies are done. Well, this is a good sign. It says process is complete, so that means that the machine has done its thing, and we're gonna go ahead and get them out and take a peek and make sure everything looks completely dry. And then I'm gonna take them to the house where we're gonna make these things look pretty, hopefully. So I do want to show these to you as they come out of the freeze dryer because oranges are something I've never done. Now, I'm not so sure how well they would reconstitute, but they really look pretty. And you know what else I just thought of? How cool would it be to string these for a Christmas tree? You know how you string popcorn and put it on the tree? You could do freeze-dried fruit of whatever type you wanted, and it would be beautiful hanging on a Christmas tree. So here's the apples. They're going to be really pretty. Since I left the peeling on there, they're going to be fall colors. And the lemons, oh, aren't they pretty? They are still very vibrant yellow on the rind. Rosemary. Still doesn't have a lot of smell, but it is kind of falling apart, which is kind of what I expected. All right, now, this is something I was most curious about. That's pine needles. Now, they're not as bright green as what they were, but I bet once you put these in your pot of water, they're going to turn back pretty green, and they're going to look pretty in the jars regardless. All right, so I'm going to defrost my machine, and it's just a simple shut of the door and mashing the button continue, and it will do its own job of defrosting. So off to the house we go to put these in jars. So we've got the things moved to the kitchen, and if y'all have watched me for any length of time, you know that I am an advocate of use what you have. And what we're going to be using to make these jars is just some things that I had on hand. Now, I did suggest these for Christmas gifts, and what I'm going to use is not necessarily Christmas focused, but it's something that I already had. And if y'all remember back when I made the curtains for the milk room, I used this red bandana fabric. And there was a little bit left over, so I tucked it away for a day like today. And I cut out a square of it already. And that's what we're going to use to make our jar decorative. Now, I did say that my plan was to use the jars that I used when I was milking Capri, which was a 2-quart jar. I felt like that was too big for, gift giving purposes. And that's what I want this to be for. I want it to be small to where you could give it to a friend and just, you know, put a smile on somebody's face. So I'm using a little 2-cup jar, which is a pint, and we're just going to start stuffing this. I don't know how it's going to turn out. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this, so no practice runs here. We're just going to give it a whirl and see how it goes. I was concerned that my orange slices would be too big, but if I bend them a little bit, they go in just fine. So we just want to make sure that enough ingredients in here to make for a pretty jar that could add cheer to somebody's day. Now I do have some cinnamon sticks here that I did purchase because I feel like everybody loves the smell of cinnamon. So sticking one of those down in my jar. Now we're going to put a couple of pine needles in. And I'm looking like I got a lot of green in here, so maybe another lemon on this side. So I got my square of fabric. I did pre-cut it to where I thought would be appropriate and adjust accordingly. A little piece of jute that I already had here. Gonna tie that on. I turned the camera off when I was tying my bow because it just made me kind of nervous tying a bow on the camera, but I did get it done. But you can see all the pretty things inside the jar that are indeed freeze-dried. And I think change with the seasons. You know, maybe during the spring season we could do rose petals and maybe strawberries. I hope you enjoyed this episode of well, I don't want to say crafting with Brooke because I don't consider myself a crafter at all, but I enjoyed freeze drying these ingredients, and I think anybody would enjoy getting a jar of freeze dried goodies. So y'all, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and maybe even tell me some ideas, things that you think would do well jarred for gifts or just for stocking in your pantry for making your own house smell good. But in the meantime, y'all be good.